try to drop lurks when I can. But yeah, so today we're gonna take a little. I named this side quest because we're gonna do something a little bit different. We're not gonna. Well, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I don't think we're gonna be going back to the ghost hunting game today. We're going to focus on basically just doing a whole control scheme for this. So I basically imagined this person who was like maybe trying to get into Unreal, but then seeing all of these tutorials on the YouTubes and whatnot, where people just use the third person template, kind of thing. And that's like, if you're making a third person game, that's great. But if you're just trying to build your own mechanics and you need to, let's say for instance you got this flying car off the marketplace and you're like, I want to make a flying car game, but every tutorial on YouTube is like, here's how to make a third person character walking around because Unreal does that for you. So just copy that stuff and then modify it to be whatever you want. But you can't do that. You can't do that with a flying car. So we have to make the flying car from scratch. So we're going to do that. We're going to basically make that tutorial for that theoretical person that just might have this and is trying to get into Unreal, but doesn't have any tutorial for how to do this kind of shit. So luckily this is not its own project. Some of these force you to create a complete project for it. But we're just going to make a new project. We'll grab the latest here. We're going to use 5.4.2. And we're going to make a brand new, completely empty project. This asset is going to be the only thing in this project. Oh, we already did that twice? Well, whatever. I think we're good. All right, so we go to our games tab here. We're going to make a new game. We want to make it a totally blank project. We don't need any of this stuff. So this is what most tutorials will start you off on, this kind of thing, where if you're making a first-person game or third-person, top-down, all the stuff, vehicle, like all these are super handy. VR will be doing more of that stuff later. But for now, what we want is just totally blank, brand new project, because we're going to do totally custom controls for this. So I don't even know what we want to call this project. I guess we will say, that's going to be, it's like flying, we'll just call it flying car, because that's what it is. Keep all that stuff at default. So here we go. Here is our completely empty project for a flying car. We're immediately going to toss an asset into it, so it will not be empty for long. But also, as I like to do, we're going to make a new level here because, as you can see, we have ended up in this really crazy landscape, which is inexplicably flat in the middle and just is surrounded by mountains, which I guess could be a useful thing for you to have if we were making an open world game. But for at least testing purposes, it doesn't really make sense. So we're going to make a new level, completely empty level, nothing in there. Great. Now the fun thing is here, this is where all of the stuff in our level is, which is empty right now. But as soon as I hit play, we get a whole bunch of shit in here. And most of this stuff is just managers, and most of the things we won't even really directly be manipulating. There's 3 objects in here that we care about. One is our default pawn, the other is our game mode, and then the third is our player controller. So those are the things we're going to replace to make our flying car game. So we have to make all 3 of those things to do this, but right now we don't even have our flying car. So we're going to go ahead and go into our assets here. And here's our playable spaceship slash flying car. It's not compatible technically with 5.4, but we're just gonna push it and assume that everything will be fine. Let's just put it the 5.3 version in here. And no, we can't, we still can't do it. Or there we go. Just do it. Everything will be fine. We really don't even want any of the code in this, to be honest. I usually don't use the code from an asset. Pretty much just want the meshes out of it and textures and materials and all that kind of stuff. So right here we get this BP spaceship. But one of the immediate problems, and I suppose perhaps the reason that it's not compatible with 5.4, is it uses the old input system. So that's no good. We don't want any of that. And because of that, oh, we are still, at least we're still rendering correctly. But we can't, I mean, we can compile, but we get all these warnings for all this shit. So luckily we don't need any of this. All we really care about is the mesh in here, which is this SK spaceship. So under the meshes and skeletal meshes, great. Pretty easy. So we're gonna make this into a new character. We're gonna kind of rebuild what they did here. In fact, it looks like it, yeah, it is. I think this is using, yeah, it's using everything from the character. So we're going to basically build a totally new one of this, because it's just not worth keeping any of this, to be honest, just because it's set up in a really specific way. It uses brake controls, acceleration here. There's also like toggling gravity and all kinds of stuff, and we just don't need any of it. So we're just going to get rid of that. And I'm going to start some brand new folders in here, because this right here is our flying car. I guess we'll leave that the way it is. You know what? Let's just rename it. While nothing else is even referencing it, might as well get the name in now. Oh boy. I had a feeling that may have not been the best call, but let's see if we can get rid of see if we can get rid of this folder. Can we clear everything out? So far, so good. Oh, materials is where it hung on there. That's not great. Can we get rid of some of this stuff? I mean, worst case scenario. Oh. Okay. Getting there. No, we still got something. Something is hanging on there, but I think most things. So as long as we can open the mesh and open our flying car. So this is our car in our new location. And I'm really tempted, you know, just because we can, let's just, nope, not that. I'm gonna just straight up delete it. Yeah, looks like the front light and the reactors and the spaceship, like all the stuff, some reason is sticking around in there. So I'm just gonna go ahead and delete that, and you're gonna have to deal with it. There we go. Look at that. Great. So I actually might, I might keep this landscape here just for testing purposes, since we're going to be driving around. So we even have a player start. So that'll make it easy. So what we're going to do is create our new character. So when we play here, we still get all the same kind of shit. Like we still get our default pawn, we got our game mode base. So we need to replace that stuff. So that's where we create we're going to create the game mode first. So that's going to be under, we're going to make a new folder for it, for the system. Very just generic. Let's make this is the folder for all the system stuff that we're making. So we do new blueprint class, and we're going to make a game mode. I guess we'll just call this flying car mode, because that's what it is. This is, you're going to fly a flying car. I'm just going to compile and save that and get out of here. because when we open it back up, it does something totally different. Okay, so now this is our game mode. It's not set yet, but what we need to do, the other things that we need to replace are also in here. So the player controller and then the default pawn. So those two things need to create and then implement into our game mode. So the player controller, I'm also just going to put under system. We're really only going to have one of them, at least for now. So we can do another blueprint and player controller. And this is the, I guess we'll just call it car controller. That's what it is. Get rid of this, and all we're gonna do here, well, actually we don't have it yet. We're just gonna leave that. Gonna leave that, and I'm gonna set this to always save when I compile, so I don't have to do that again. Okay, so we have our controller. Now we just need the pawn. So that could be any actor in here, well, any possessible actor, aka pawn, or any character. So we're going to create our new character. I guess we can put, we can put this just in the flying car folder. I don't want it to be in with other stuff though, so we're just going to create it right here. So we're going to create a character. And I'm just going to call this flying car base, because I don't even know what else to call it, to be honest with you. So this is going to be our character. So if you create a new character, you can do just a pawn that has standard physics movement. That's like one option for doing this. We're going to try this with actually character movement and just use the flying movement style on that character. It'll be something a little different. I honestly don't know what other games that have implemented flying cars do, but I think this is a good option. So what we're going to do is collapse all this stuff in our movement component over here. Let's check what settings we need to kind of be aware of. So gravity scale, great example. This is going to be like a basically 0G car. So just turn off the gravity on it. There you go. There's one thing. We'll probably want it to go faster than it's going right now, but won't worry about that for now. So let's see. Should we have, yeah, here we go. Default land movement mode. We're going to make flying. And default water. We'll just make everything be flying for now. We don't need to be doing anything else. I doubt we'll be walking in this car anytime soon. So that should be pretty much all we need. Let's see what options we have in flying. So max fly speed 600 centimeters per second. Who knows if that's enough? We're just going to double that. I'm sure we're going to want to move faster at some point. And I think that's all we'll need for now. So let's get our mesh in, because we have a character mesh, and that is going to be SK spaceship. Wow. Okay, there it is. Here's our character. A little bit bigger than the capsule that we have. That's fine. We can work with that. I think that's probably, if the capsule were like person-sized, it seems accurate to that chair. So I think we're to scale in some fashion. So that's fine, we don't need to mess with that. Let's compile this. So now we actually want to, well, I guess we can test out technically our character, even though we can't move yet because we haven't set up any inputs. But let's just make sure all of this works. by also adding our camera. So we need a spring arm for, or not a springer. I typed sping. I was wondering why that wasn't working. That's why. So it's our camera spring arm attached to the mesh, and then we're going to put a camera on that, and I don't even have to type for that one because it is real close. I swear. I'm just still... No, see, there you go, camera. Oh, it looks like our camera's kind of facing like the wrong way. Actually, are we facing the right way? Hold on. Where's that? There's supposed to be an arrow here. There we go. Okay, so our car is technically facing, yeah, our car is facing the wrong way. So let's rotate on that Z180. There we go. All right, much better. Except, oh, except you are now messed up. So let's get that rotation. I'll put this up a little bit. So we're kind of looking over the car. I don't want to go too far over. We're also going to need to extend this a little bit. This is a little bit crazy. Let's do 600. So now we got a little bit more of a distance on that. So now we have all the three things we need. We have our game mode, we have our player controller, and we have the pawn, which is our character. So now we can put them all together. So here is our mode, our game mode. And in here we want to set the player controller class to car controller. Even though we haven't really done anything to it yet, but we're just going to have it set up there. And default pawn is going to be flying car base. Flying car base. There we go. So now, when we play this... Nope. Oh, wait. Nothing happens because we didn't actually set it in our project settings. So in maps and modes right here, set this game mode to flying car mode. And now we have a flying car that's just kind of sitting there. But it's our flying car and it's brand new and doesn't have any garbage inside of it. So let's start to fill it with garbage. Some garbage nodes. So the first thing that we need to do is add our input actions. So we're going to have another folder inside of here called input. And we're going to create, I guess we just need 2 input actions for now. So under input, create this, and we'll name this IA move. Open that up. That's going to be a vector 2D. We're going to create another one of those. Call that IA rotate. I guess it's rotate camera, but for simplicity, we'll just call it that. Cool, cool, cool. So now I'll make this also axis 2D, vector 2D. Now we need to assign these 2 buttons. And we do that through the input mapping context. So I'm just going to call this input mapping because, again, it's the only one we're ever going to have. So open that up and let's add our 2 mappings here. We want IA move and IA rotate. So move, we want, is going to have 4 different buttons. It's going to have WASD associated with it because we're moving this input on 2 different axes. So if we just open this up, here is W, A, S, and D. So right now these are all doing the same thing. We're going to make them do different things later. But for right now, all of these are going to basically move in the same direction until we correct that. Now for the rotate, we have a kind of simpler way of setting this up, because all we need is the mouse XY 2D axis. And that doesn't need anything. Cool, so our buttons are mapped. They're not mapped totally correctly just yet, but we're gonna implement it now and see how it goes. So the first thing that we need to do to make this all work is in our car controller, we're going to open the full blueprint editor here. And in this begin play, we need to basically have it add the input mapping that we just created. So this is the dumbest, most inexplicable series of nodes that you have to do in basically every project. We are going to get enhanced input local player subsystem. And I always get it wrong which one I even need. I want to say it's this one. It is that one. Great, we did it right. So that big ass node that just does one thing, and we're going to add the mapping context to it. And the mapping context is the input mapping that we just made. So there you go. That's all this does right now. But what this allows us to do is now every time I hit those buttons that we mapped, it will actually send those input events to the inputs that we created. Problem is we haven't implemented those inputs anywhere. So we can do that in two different ways, really. We can implement the inputs in the controller itself, or we can implement them in the car. So I kind of enjoy a little bit of a layer of abstraction between my two like interacting things. So, and I kind of take it as a cue from Unreal that if your player controller is the thing that is mapping your inputs, because otherwise you would have to, if you were to implement this same thing in the character, just as a fun little aside, and the way that I see it happen so much, where you would have to get player controller, and then you have to get your 0 index of your player controller, and then what? Oh yeah, so then you get enhanced input local player subsystem in there, and then you do add your mapping context. So you can basically do the whole thing inside of your character if you want, but you have to get the reference to that player controller because that's where you actually have your input layer here. So I kind of take this as a cue from Unreal to say, well, everything should be in your player controller because that's where your input's actually happening, right? And they get forwarded basically to whatever pawn that you're possessing. But we don't need to do that because we're already doing that here, so we're good. So now I'm going to implement everything inside. We're going to implement all of the inputs inside of the player controller, and then it will pass that stuff along to the character. So I should create a new event graph for this. I'm going to call this input. And all we're really going to do here is implement the two input events that we have. So we do our IA underscore and we get the two events. We'll start with move. And then we'll do rotate. So here are the two input events that we have. Maddie, what's up? Hi, how's it going? Welcome on in. We're doing something a little different today. We're doing a tutorial basically for setting up a flying car for a theoretical person who owns this asset and doesn't know how to implement it yet because they're just getting into Unreal. So this is how you would make a flying car. We have the car, we just haven't. This is now getting the inputs in so we can actually start to move it. So hopefully once we do this little sequence here, we take our input, We pass it to our car, which is right here. This is our little flying car. Then we're gonna go ahead and get this thing moving. So we got two input events that we want to use here. One is going to be the move here. So again, just to kind of abstract this, well, you know what? I guess we know we're gonna be possessing the flying car in this case. So let's just have it call things on the car, right? So this is what we'll do is we'll implement in our player controller here, and we'll pass everything on to the car directly. And the way that we do this, there's a little fun trick for just getting the character reference. So in our controller here, we want a reference to the character that we're controlling right now. So there is an event for possessing an object when you inside of the controller. So whenever it possesses something, we know that thing has to be a pawn, so we get a pawn reference. But I need to be a little bit more specific than that, because what I want is a reference to this flying car. I want to be able to directly call things on that car. So I'm going to add a variable here for, I'm just going to call it my car. And that's going to be a flying car base. So now all we got to do is set this to the pawn, but we can't do that yet because we only have a pawn reference, and this is a much more specific reference than that. So what we're going to do is cast it, because the car does inherit from pawn because it inherits from the character. So all these things are related, so we're just going to go ahead and cast it to a flying car base. And there's our reference. So there we go. That's all we need. So now we can directly talk to the car. So any function that I add here can be called from the player controller directly. So now we go to our inputs. And the move is going to happen anytime I hit W, A, S, or D, and it's going to apply this vector 2D based on which button I hit, which right now they all do the same thing. But we're going to see which direction that takes us first. We're going to go from there. So what we want is basically a function inside of the car that takes this vector 2D and applies a movement to it. So if we go ahead here and we just add a new function, and I'm going to label it just input move. And for the inputs, we want this to be a vector 2D. This is the, I just call this like input axis or something. Oh, I made it input axis. Well, can't win them all. So we're going to do the same thing actually for the rotate. We're going to do our input rotate as well. This is also a vector 2D. So we'll make this also the input axis. Now the fun thing is, all we really have to do with our player controller is get the reference to the car, and we call input move here on triggered, and we pass in the value that we have. And here we call input rotate on triggered, and we pass in the value. Cool. So now we have the inputs being passed over to our character, and now our character can just do whatever it wants to do with this stuff. My bad. Oh, no worries. It's going good. It's going good. So yeah, I wanted to, my plans changed about like 10 times in the first like 5 hours of the day, just based on all kinds of weird sequence of things happening. I thought I wasn't actually going to be able to stream at all today, but then I kind of got weird time in the middle of the day, so doing a different kind of thing where I want to make a tutorial for this flying car game idea. So I'm kind of just building this stuff from scratch so you can see like how the basic building blocks of this work effectively. So yeah, that's kind of what we're doing today. It's going good. We are mere moments away from getting this car moving, so it's pretty cool. In fact, we should only really need to do one thing here. So our input move, we know, is being called from our player controller every time we hit any of our buttons. So all we got to do is tell the movement component right here. I think it's just called like add input vector. There we go. Now the only catch here is that we have a world vector, which is a vector 3. And this is a vector 2D structure. So, because we only have like an up and a down and a left and a right for our movement vector. You know, that's the only thing you can do on like a controller for the left thumbstick or for your WASD movement. That's effectively like a 2D structure, right? So we have to translate that into our 3D world now. And I think the easiest way to kind of do that is to take the forward vector, well, I suppose the forward vector and the right vector of this object. So let's say for our car, for instance, let's take the actual mesh. Actually, it's interesting. We take the forward of the mesh, it's going to go backwards, which, I mean, we can just have everything multiply by 1, or -1 rather. That would be fine. Actually, let's take the spring arm. Let's take the spring arm forward vector, because that will be facing forward, and since that's kind of the thing we're going to be rotating, we may also get some kind of you know, well, I guess we'll get the left and right action out of it, which we'll see. We'll see what we really want to do with it. Let's try that at first. I think we're going to want to change it at some point, but it's fine. So we'll take the spring arm, and then we want to get the forward vector of it. And we also want to get the right vector of it. Because what happens here is that ends up being the X and Y values that we have right here. So if we actually split this, here's our X and our Y. So our X is in unreal terms, that is forward. So we are going to multiply this by the forward vector. And our Y, we are going to multiply by the right vector. So any input that I add to the X will be going forward and backward if if it's negative. And then any movement to the left and right will be by this Y value. So what we want to do is just add these two. And that's our vector. That's it. It's a little bit goofy, but it works. Maybe we can do that. There's a whole art to, arranging your nodes. but I think that is at least clear enough. And I don't think we need to force it. So now we should be moving. We're adding our input vector to the movement component, which will then move us by whatever rules that movement component has, which means we can test this now. So I'm going to put this in a new window. And I hit W and we move forward. Success, we are moving. And I hit S and we move forward. And then I hit A and we move forward. And then I hit D and we, you guessed it, move forward. So the reason for this is everything is now, all of these inputs, my W, my A, S, and D, are all going in the same direction, which is forward, which means that it's the positive X direction, right? That's what we used our forward vector for. That's our positive X. Felix, yeah. Welcome on in. Thank you for that. I have indeed not had any of this delicious ice cold water since I started, so thank you for that. Cheers. Odin Okron, what's up? Am I saying that right? It's crazy when I have to like say names out loud and I'm like, yeah, I actually have no idea how to pronounce this name. But hey, welcome on in. Welcome on in. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, we have just started moving our nice Odin Okron. All right. Good. That's a rare event. That is one of the things that even haunts me from my previous streaming escapades was saying names wrong. But I suppose it kind of happens to everybody, you know. But yes, we got our flying car only moving forward right now. So the fun thing is all we really have to do to fix that is change the input mapping. Because that's how we differentiate our... Yo, Bake Face, thank you for that sub. What's going on? Welcome on in. Bake Face, yep, I love it. Yeah, those emotes, oh my god. Love to see them. Yeah, I think all followers have the... I duplicated the happy one and I made the welcome one so that everybody had access to it. But yeah, what's up? Welcome on in. Hi, how's it going? How is your Sunday? Assuming that's what it also is in your part of the world. Yeah, we're making our flying car. Thank you. Yeah, they are made by the Incredible Pirate. I think yeah, they should be tagged in the emotes. Incredible artist, incredible kind of emote creator. And yeah, I do want to get some of the animated ones going too, because I think that would be pretty fun. Like even the sad one, like with it raining, I would love an animated version of that one. Okay, so yeah, so here we go. So this is our inputs. All these things are going forward, right? So we need to do a couple of things. The first thing that we can do here is we want to make S the opposite of W, right? Like W is going forward, which is correct, but S is also going forward. So we want it to go backward. So we just want to add a modifier here, and it's going to be the negate. So now, just with that one change, we can go forward and we can go back with S. Here to lurk and learn. That is awesome, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's what it's about. That's what it's about here. I'm just doing some learning. That's why I'm kind of taking this, you know, step by step, so that you actually see. Because one thing I notice is that like you'll do 50 things before anything makes any sense, and I kind of did a little bit of that in the setup here because you have to create these 3 different objects and then put them all together. you know? But I think once you do that and once you understand how those things all combine, it's a lot easier to do the rest. So like this, we made one change and now we can go backwards. Now we have actual more responsive controls, and then it's easy enough to just do the other part. So now so we have W and S are correct. A and D are not correct. Both of those go forward, which means they're on the wrong axis entirely. So we got to add this modifier that is pretty silly, but it is important. We're going to swizzle the input axis value. We're going to do that for A and for D, because both of those we want to go on the y-axis instead of the x-axis. And swizzle is apparently the name for that. I don't know if that's an Unreal specific thing, but it's wild. Okay, so now we got forward, we got back, and we got right, and we got more right. So A is also going right, you know? But that means that D and A are doing the same thing, right? We know that. And we know that in order for things to do opposite things, we can add the negate modifier. So D is doing the correct thing, it's going right. A is doing the opposite. So on top of the swizzle, we also do the negate. And now we have forward, we have back, we have right, and we have left. So we got our full movement, and we can fly around. So we can't go very fast right now, which maybe we'll want to fix that up a little bit. But we can go in all four directions now, but we can't rotate yet because we're not implementing our rotate function. So what we're going to do here is we want to rotate. I mean, actually, I guess we can try this. Be curious to see if we can get away with just doing one object and rotating it. Oh, that's why. Yeah, you know what? I'm just going to play it safe. We're going to add another kind of pivot point onto here, because what I want to do is I want to be able to rotate this up and down, and then also left to right. But the trick with that is that it gets really funky really quick. If you try to do like an orbital camera with just one object, you can do it if you want to like extra math it, but I think just a really easy way to kind of get around it is just to add another pivot point. So on this mesh, we're going to add a scene component, and we're just going to call this camera pivot. And we're going to put the spring arm under that. So now we have, oh, this is kind of silly, isn't it? Well, let's reset you and then get you up here. So we got the camera pivot, spring arm, same location, just facing in reverse, which I guess we could just rotate this, but it's fine. We'll leave it. So what we want to do is have one of these do the horizontal rotation. So for instance, this one will do the horizontal, and then the spring arm itself will do the vertical rotation. And that way we keep those on completely different axes. It's easier to reset them. It's easy to know kind of where they are relative to each other, and they don't interfere with each other. So it's kind of nice. So let's see, let's get rid of that and get rid of you. Cool. So in our rotate, we know that we want the x-axis, that's going to be our left to right, right? So we're going to actually split this also. So our x-axis is going to be the actual camera pivot itself. So the camera pivot is going to rotate, and you can tell that that's rotating on the Z. So we're going to change the Z rotation based on this X value here. So we want to take our camera pivot and let's see, I guess we can do add local rotation. That's probably the best one. For this, and the local is going to be on the Z. And then for the spring arm, I'm going to take this and we are going to also add local rotation. And that's going to be on... Actually, I didn't look at that one. Let's see. Let's make sure. Make sure we're doing the right one here. So if we go to the spring arm, so let's say we have rotated our camera this way a little bit. Take our spring arm, and this one should be... Yeah, it's the Y. Okay, so the Y is going to change the Y value. So add our input there into the Y. Okay, so now our mouse is going to change the rotation of the camera around the car. Here we go. And we can move it around here. So you can see that I'm actually taking the controls are taking the rotation of the camera instead of the rotation of the car. So that's a thing that we can definitely change, because depending on how you want to really make these controls, right? This is a full camera based movement. So if I look up, now we've lifted off the ground. But then if I look down, then we're gonna crash back down. But we have our movement working and we have it relative to the camera. So we could do a lot of different control schemes here. I guess one thing that we could do that would be interesting is have the mesh actually rotate toward the direction that you're moving. That could be a kind of fun one. Let's try it. I think that's going to be the easiest one to do and keep our controls, but then we might want to also try to do more car-based controls where you're always moving forward, but then you have to like turn the car, you know? We'll see. Try it. We'll try it both ways, I think. So we can get rid of this, because all we're doing is modifying right now the car here. So what we want to do is, as we're moving, we could just do it on the tick and we could do it every frame, but I'm kind of partial to taking the just using it off of an input. But I guess we'll make a function for it anyway. So we want to make a new function. And what this function is going to do is every frame that we call it, it's going to rotate the car in the direction of our movement. And I guess for that reason, I can even just have it input. Oh no, I didn't call it. Cancel. It's going to make me, yeah, damn it. I hate those autosaves when I'm in the middle of trying to name something. Okay, so this one, I guess we'll call like rotate toward momentum. It's a little bit silly, but that'll do. And so all this is going to do is going to rotate our car, which is our mesh right here. Ooh, you know what? Ooh. I just realized our camera pivot is under our mesh. You know what? We're just going to put this under the capsule because we're rotating our mesh independently here. We don't want to I don't want to break it with this. Let's leave our camera totally separate here. So it should behave the same way now. And we still have our camera controls here. Still have camera base controls. We can go up and down with it. So the only thing that we did is detach from the mesh, because we want this mesh to kind of behave independently. So what we're going to do is have this slowly rotate in whatever direction we're moving. So if we just take the movement component, I think we can just get velocity, right? I think that's calculate velocity. Does not apply gravity. I mean, that's fine. I think you can just grab, yeah, you can just get velocity. I don't know if there's a significant difference there. I think maybe the other one just takes the last input frame. We don't really care that much. This one will be just fine. So what we want to do is basically take this velocity and we're gonna move in that direction. So actually, you know what? Fine, look at rotation for this target. And I think we can start. Actually, we should just be able to start at 0. Can I just make a vector here? This is maybe a little bit of a silly way to do it. But we're starting from 0 because this is a local vector. So it's going to start at 0 and then go this way. And this is the rotation that we want to get to, because we're basically like, this is the looking forward of, this is finding what the forward rotation is for the movement vector that we have. So what we want to do here is take the current rotation, and get world rotation. And we're going to lerp to our new one. Lerp rotator to the new one here. And this will be delta seconds. We'll take the shortest path. I think that's fair. So there we go. So now this, if all this math is correct, then we set this to the new rotation of this. So we want to set world rotation. Give it some room here. And there is our new rotation. Okay, so if this works, we should be rotating toward whatever direction we're moving. And we're not really doing any other math than that. Are we very slowly rotating it? That was weird. I don't think we are. So let's see. Let's try to... I wonder if we just try and snap to it. Let's see if it's even accepting our new rotation here. Okay. Let's try... What if we start... I mean, this should be like a local vector. I kind of want to just see what happens if we put different... I don't know. The one thing I worry about is I know that they do something weird with this. Let me see if we can find... it's like the control rotation. Oh, wait. Oh my god. Oh my god. I can't believe I just did that. Cool, 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 cool. Yeah, you know what? You know what I did? Wow. Perfect. I didn't call this. I didn't call this function. So we're going to call this in our... I guess we could call it in either one. We'll call in our move, because that way it's only going to take place when we're actually moving. Jesus Christ. Cool. So that happened. So now, yeah, there we go. We're rotating. We're rotating now. Oh, so I think we have to change this by 180. I forgot that this thing faces backwards. Cool. Do we go up? Okay, yeah. So everything faces backwards, including up and down. Cool. Cool, 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 cool. That's awesome. So what we got to do is take the world. I guess we got to take the world rotation. Oh, so this result, yeah, this result we just basically have to rotate. We have to take the inverse of, like, can you like multiply it by -1? Does that work for a rotator? I've never tried this, but I mean, why not? Why not? Do you work? Oh boy. Oh, no, it didn't. I don't think it liked that one. That may not be the answer for rotators. I guess, you know, oh, this value, we need to be able to, like, we need to be able to basically rotate it, like combine rotators. And let's see. So we want to combine this with like a 180 degree on the God, this is gonna be mathing. This is gonna be a little bit silly. I don't know. I don't love it. Oh wait, you know what? Hold on. This might be a really stupid way to solve this, but it fucking work. Oh well, first of all, that shouldn't be right. But I think, what if we do these in reverse? I think it might actually, like, that faces it in the opposite direction. You find the lookout rotation of the opposite way, and now we should get the proper. No, are we not getting it? Hold on. Oh, we didn't put in. I don't know what happened there. I must have deleted the thing that was doing it. Okay, there we go. There we go. So yeah, we basically face it in the opposite direction by getting the reverse look at. I kind of want to make it go a little bit faster. It's rotating, for it being an active rotate. I don't like how unresponsive it feels. So let's do 5. Do it 5 times faster. See what that's like. Yeah, that feels better. Cool. Yeah, I think that's feeling pretty good. Now, I guess one thing that we want to do, because we don't want to have to like look down and up whenever we change elevation, let's instead, well, I guess there are a couple of things that we could do. That was neat. A couple of things that we could do, because I definitely want to make it so that we can go up and down, you know. I think that'll be a good one. And also let's go a little bit quicker. Let's go a little bit quicker. If we go to our flying, this is 12. What happens if, let's go up by an order of magnitude. What happens then? What kind of speed are we looking at? Okay, that seems better. That seems better. We can get these mountains quick enough, and we can crash into them. I think that's going well enough. Yep. Okay. All right, I think we got something going there then. So, so I think that's good for our basic controls, and we can go pretty quick. I think that'll do. This might even be like turbo speed. But yeah. So now we want to be able to go up and down without having to like look up and down, because that's kind of weird. I think that's something we'll easily want to fix. And otherwise, I think that feels pretty good. So up and down means we want to add another input action for our up and down. So we have move as a 2D axis because we only have forward and back and left and right. So we want to effectively just add our other axis here. So that means we only need a single axis. It doesn't need to be a vector 2D. So we're going to make an input action, and we're going to call this IA underscore. Do we call it like, I mean, it's move, but it's move up and down, vertical, or like something like that. That'll be good enough. And we do want to change it from the digital bool to axis 1D float. There is our vertical axis. Now we have to add it to our mapping. So I'll add a new mapping and make that IA vertical. And let's see, I guess we'll make this Q and E. That seems fair. Get out of here. I hate that those open back up. I don't understand why that happens. So Q and E. I'm going to go out on a limb here and just say that since Q is going to be down, we're going to just go ahead and already apply that negate modifier. So that Q should go down and E will go up. But now, since we had new input, we got to go all the way back to our player controller. We haven't seen that thing in a little while. So here's our car controller. Because we got a new input. I'm going to collapse these actually, because these can be even more compact. Nice and easy to manage. Look at that. So now add our new one. So IA vertical. Which means we want another function on our car to basically take some kind of, vertical force. Now, luckily, we already have an example of this. This is already taking a force here. But what we can do... Oh, interesting. We'll play with that. But what we can do is kind of use the same thing, right? We're going to just add our input vector to this. So let's add our new function, which is going to be input, I guess input vertical. And this is a single axis, so we don't need this vector 2D, we just need a float. And then this is, the vertical input. It doesn't matter what we call this. Whatever. So now what we want to do is do the same thing that we do in our other move input here. And instead of doing the forward vector or the right vector, we're going to do, you guessed it, the up vector. And we do the same thing here. We just multiply this by the up vector. And that right there. Now, here's the other tricky part. So we're not going to actually do, you know what? I just realized we don't need to do this at all. Because we probably always want to be vertical. We probably don't want this to be, Tagar one, am I saying that right? Welcome on in. You have a crazy idea for a game. What's your crazy idea for a game? I'm actually not even gonna bother with this. We're just gonna directly go into the Z here because we're gonna want this to just be always vertical, like world relative. So I think this will probably be a safer bet, and maybe we'll want to multiply it. I don't know. Let's see what happens. So I'm gonna do E. Should go up. No. Q. No. Interesting. Oh wait, we're not calling this yet. Classic. How many times are we going to do this today? So when we have our input vertical Now, look at this. We got our input here. We're going to do our triggered. Once again, we're going to take the car reference. And this is going to be input vertical. And that's going to be on triggered. Easy. Oh, we might want the value. We might want that value. Cool. All right, so now it should work. Now we should actually have vertical. E. There we go. We go up. We go up. I mean, honestly, having it, I'm not even multiplying it by anything, but damn, that adds a force. I guess it adds the same, it's an input force, so yeah. That actually feels pretty nice. Kind of digging like that. It's either massive cultivation game or fantasy game. It's either one of those. I mean, it could be both, right? Cultivation game that is a fantasy game. Honestly, I guess there are a couple that kind of do that, but I don't know. As someone that is making a more fantasy themed version of something that is a lot of times more modern themed, I definitely appreciate putting that aesthetic. That's kind of what I'm doing. Making my main game that I make on stream is a ghost hunting game that is more fantasy themed. So I definitely enjoy putting that spin on things. So this is actually feeling pretty good. So really what's happening here, like even though this looks like turning, looks like natural turning, it's not. It's just the rotation of the car that is taking on the rotation of whatever movement vector it's doing. So if I just hold forward here, it will slowly just rotate to whatever the forward is here. Oh, that was the there you go. That was the shortest path for it. So I wonder if there's probably some other like rules we can apply here to like to the movement, you know, because this is all these are all applying the same kind of like acceleration rules, all that kind of stuff. And we're definitely not able to like drift now, right? Because the rotation of the car is entirely based on the rotation of the car is entirely based on the velocity that it's going. Although to be fair, I guess like only where the movement is applied. So you can kind of get it to drift off a little bit, but you can't turn the car and have it kind of going sideways or anything like that, which we could certainly fix. Because one thing that we're doing right now is our movement input is always relative to the camera, which we might not want, you know? We might want our input to our forward to always be forward like you're driving a car, all right? So let's actually let's do that, since, I mean, we haven't really been going that long. And yeah, I want to make sure that we can get some learning on in here. So like, let's say we want to do that. Let's say we want to make the movement be more like you're driving a car. So we're always going to go forward, and you can rotate around the car with your camera and it won't change the input. So it won't turn you around, for instance. Let's try that. Should be pretty easy, because really the nice part about this is, once again, until we add more inputs, we don't need to mess with this player controller anymore. We can just add our inputs here, and then we interpret them right here. And so we only got to really change stuff inside of our character here. Okay, so the input move is the one that we want, right? Because this is using the spring arm and using the forward vector and right vector of the spring arm. So that is wrong. Well, we're gonna make it wrong. So what we want to do instead is take the forward vector for the car and the right vector for the car. In fact, you know, I guess it won't even really make sense to, I guess the right axis on this kind of shouldn't be a, if we're going to do it this way. So let's actually disconnect that. So our left and right for just a moment, is not going to do anything. We're only going to have the forward movement. So get rid of all this. I was going to make this more undoable, but I figure, fuck it. Let's just do it live, you know? So we're going to make this be the forward, but it's going to be the forward of the mesh. Which actually now I'm realizing we're going to have to change the rules for the rotation of the mesh. I guess that's kind of what the left and right is going to do. So these two problems will kind of solve each other. So we're going to get the forward vector of this. And that is going to be the multiplication from with our x axis on our input, because that's our forward, and there's our vector. So we don't have to do any more math right here. This is a pretty simple little forward vector multiplication to one of our objects. And of course we want to, well, actually, yeah, here we're not going to rotate, are we? So we're not even going to call this anymore. This will, we can, if we want to smoothly rotate toward our movement vector, we can do this, or smoothly rotate toward any vector. We can easily change this to be a little bit smoother. But for now, what we actually want to do is have the y-axis do the rotation for us. So instead of having this just be an input vector, actually, you know what? I don't know if you can add a rotation to this. I kind of want it to be like a physics rotation, but is there like a angular? This is interesting. We're going way off of the script here. I guess we could just rotate the character or rotate the mesh. We could just rotate the mesh. I was going to try to do it more physics based, but I don't want to have there to be any kind of fighting over the movement component versus any kind of physics any more than there already would be. So I don't know. I kind of want to just keep it a little bit safer. So let's just do this. Let's have the camera, or sorry, the mesh. The Y here is just going to rotate the mesh. So we want to add, do we want to add local rotation? I guess local rotation, right? That seems right. And I guess it's just going to be Z rotation. So let's try that. So that will rotate us on the local Z. So let's see if it does that. So here's our so we're going backwards because our object is backwards. And then the rotate, there we go. So we can turn, you know, just not maybe not the way that we want. So this forward, we're actually going to multiply this also by a float by -1. So now we actually have our forward. And the camera does not change the speed or, you know, the direction that we're going. And only this does. So we can kind of, so yeah, now we can really drift it, you know. We can air drift it. And we still have our vertical, so I can bring us back down and bring us back up. But the horizontal here is the real trick. But I think it handles it pretty well. So yeah, so our car is not our car's only rotating on this one axis. We can only turn left or right effectively in our car. We can turn around and just go the opposite way, which will take some time, but it'll work. So actually, just as an example, so you can see that a little better. Yeah, and you know what? Actually, this will be the perfect time. So one thing I want to do because I think it'll be fun. Let's take our spring arm out a little bit more. I want to say like 800. Let's give ourselves a little bit more of a bird's eye view here. And then I want to get a little particle system going here. And I honestly don't know what I should do for that. So let's real quick, let's see what we got. I think there should be a visual, there's like visual effects. We got to have some kind of like smoke, right? I mean, trail pack. Ooh, we got something here. VFX trail pack. I feel like that's probably a good one. It's probably pretty much what we want, right? Oh, no, damn it. Yeah, this is, it's a little bit different. I don't know if it would work. I mean, it is a Niagara system. Hmm. Does this have any kind of... I'm looking for just kind of pretty generic effects. I mean, I feel like this would probably work. There's probably something in here we can use, right? I don't even know where this came from, to be honest. But I feel like something like this. Like, let's see. Let's see what that looks like. If we go into the flying car. All right, so let's see. We should have our files here. Here we go. Fallen leaves. You know, it would be funny to have it be is like a falling leaves. Where the hell's the actual like one Niagara system? What's going on here? Why is particle systems going to like a bunch of different ones here? Maple. Oh no, these are cascade particles. Son of a bitch. Oh no. You know what? I don't feel comfortable with that. I feel comfortable with that. We're gonna just need to have a little, maybe I should just do the trail one. But also there's probably stuff in the magic. Magic Kit 01 or 02. Let's do 02. Why not? Let's see what we got. Gotta be something in here. There's gotta be some kind of asset we can use. Here we go, Magic Kit. And particles. Dark matter, shadow, wind. That seems like a good one. Wind attack particles. What do we got? We get some wind coming out of here. Some magic wind. Yeah, prepare the shaders, please. That would be awesome. All right, so I guess we really want this to be like more. Oh, is there more stuff? Oh, I see. Initial flare, dust. Can we have? I guess we just want one to like loop, right? Yeah, loop. Oh, loop duration. So does it keep going then? Because I feel like properties. I feel like we need it to actually loop, and it's not really doing that. Emitter local space. Yeah, we don't want local space either. Emitter spawn. That seems weird. Why is that empty? Let's see. Spawn rate has unmet dependencies. Oh, emitter life cycle. Okay. Following pre-dependencies on emitter life cycle. Fix that issue. Yeah, there we go. So now it's constantly going, right? So we activate it once, and it should just keep spawning these after we do it. So let's try that. Let's add this to our car now. So there's where our thing is. Let's see, find car. And go back here. There's you. And then we want to, in here, add the Niagara system. I guess we'll just add it to the mesh. That would kind of make the most sense. And look for Niagara. There you go. Oh, and it made one with the with the one that I had selected. There you go. Oop, that's not good. Hold on. Which way was that going? That's pretty fun. Actually, I kind of like that as like a startup, you know. But I'm not sure if it's so it's not like looping here is the thing, right? I don't know if it's, I guess let's just see. We also probably just, I want to face it the other way. Yeah, there we go. That's kind of more correct, right? So let's see. Let's see what this looks like. Yep, there we go. Yeah, see, okay, it stops. Okay, so we need the actual emitter, the whole thing, I guess, to like loop, right? Like, loop behavior. Oh, here we go. Loop behavior infinite. I don't know. I feel like it's lying to me. Loop duration, infinite. That all seems like it should keep going forever. That's what infinite means, right? I'm not going crazy. And like, I guess especially this one, right? This is the one that we actually had looping. And, I guess let's see. Let's look for a loop and see what other kind of things we get here. Sim stage loops? No. Here we go. Oh, loop behavior. Oh, this is once. Hold on. Infinite. Loop duration for sure. Let's say that. Okay, so this particular emitter was set to loop only once. And I think that is the problem. So let's see. All right. Does our car keep going forever? Do we keep puffing out smoke forever? We do. I think we did it. Okay, great. I think we are going to want to change the rate that we spawn these at, because like you can see, when we're kind of still, it's fine, but I think it's a little silly when we start moving. I mean, you can barely tell. They just disappear. So I want to have more of a trail. So let's boost that up a little bit. So our dust, let's get rid of that. And let's see. So emitter spawn rate, that seems like the right place to be. Let's go 25 instead of 5. So we'll go up 5 times more. That's pretty cool. So I think we're still, yeah, we can at least see the, you know, at least see what we're working with here. It's that's pretty fun. I think that works. I think that's a good start. And we already got donuts going, you know? Oh, you know what? Actually, one thing. let's add the input for zooming in and out the camera. That seems like a pretty easy win as well, and something that we'll certainly want, at least at some point. So that means we need a new input. We need new input action. So we're going all the way back in time. Or input. We're gonna make a new action. New input action. IA zoom seems like a good one. I mean, I guess that could mean multiple things, you know, for a car game, but in this case it is camera zoom. We're gonna make that a float as well. It's gonna be one axis. You're gonna either zoom in or out. That is just positive or negative on one axis. And we can even make it if we want to, like, for instance, for like controllers, for like gamepad controls, you can, if you put them on the triggers or something like that, you can even make it a very fine-tuned thing, which you can't really do. Well, I guess if you did it to mouse movement is the only way to make it an analog input. But let's do this. So we want to add our handy new input. Well, first of all, we need to map it. So let's do that. We want to map the zoom, and we're gonna put this on the mouse wheel. So under mouse, I just if you click on this and just just scroll the mouse wheel, it will automatically sense it and give you this. But it's in this list, I believe, under mouse wheel. Yeah, mouse wheel axis. And I don't think we really need to do anything with that. Well, I guess we'll find out. We'll find out if it feels backwards to us. It may, because I think by default this would... Well, I guess, we'll see. We shall see. So all we need here is to implement this in our player controller. So in our system here, car controller, we need our IA zoom, which means in our car, we need an input zoom. So if we pop over there and we make our input zoom, and this is going to take a float because it's a single axis. And all this is going to do is change the spring arm amount. So we're going to take, actually, can we get the, I forget what it's called, actually. What is the distance called on it? Should be called distance, right? Camera lag distance. What is it? Is it target arm length? There we go. Target arm length. Try get length. Oh yeah. Well, so this is specifically for the spring arm. It's not for the vector, but yeah, thanks. It's target arm length is that is it indeed. Thank you for that. Yeah. But yeah, so that should be what we want. We want to take this and we want to add basically the input axis that we get right here. And we want to set that to the new value. So we want to set target arm length. Here you go. And then that's that. Hey. Cool. So we can just, put these in the right order here. It's never gonna look all that pretty, but that's about as good as it gets. Okay, so that's all we're gonna do here. So we just need to add this to our controller here. So when we trigger this, in other words, whenever we roll the mouse, Max Power, what's up, Max? What's going on? Here we go. What is this? Getting us started. Wait, what happened? Thank you for getting us started. What even just happened? I don't even know what that was. You got us started for something. the cheer for the big Bruce. Thank you for that. Yeah, we haven't. I don't know. I haven't done anything with like cheering or anything like that. But I mean, giant Bruce heads always welcome in the chat. Always welcome. Okay, so what we need to do is call this fucking function on our car, right? Call input zoom, and we pass it that. And that should do it. So now we should at least see the results of this. And we can... Oh, yep. Okay. So, yeah, as we scroll down, we zoom in a little bit. So I think we're going to want to reverse it. And we're also going to want to make it a lot faster because it is glacial right now. So we know that this... I don't even want to do this in our controller or anything like that. Let's close everything here. We're done with this. Actually, I kind of want to... just, let's call this exhaust. I do kind of want to mess with that still. Pump up the output. Since we're not really going for maximum efficiency here, we're really just going for flair. We're going to double that output that we just, you know, already multiplied by 5. So what we want to do with this is we need to multiply this. We need to basically reverse this and also scale it up. So the amount that we change here, yeah, you know what? Because we don't need to multiply the result, we multiply this, the input. So we're going to take this and we're going to multiply that by some amount that we'll decide. This just got a lot uglier. I don't know if I want to move this over here. You're the same. You're fine. You get over here. Okay, that's not terrible. And I guess I'm going to make this like negative. I think I'm going to try -10. I think it might even need more, but we'll see. Yeah, see, that's like that's not bad, but I don't think it's, I think it's even still too slow. I mean, I can like really, I can really scroll it. I can loosen my mouse wheel and let it ride, but I think it's a little bit slow. So let's try 50, honestly, -50. See what that feels like. Yeah, see, that feels better. It's like a practical, I want to zoom out and see shit. I want to zoom in. And we got a pretty good exhaust trail going. I like that. Let's go down a bit. So yeah, I think this is working for us. You know, we got a pretty good turn going on. So yeah, we can kind of mess with this. I think the one thing I'd want to really like change in here, control wise, would be like the turning is not very physics based at all. It's just super linear. You instantly turn in whatever direction you're turning. The movement still kind of slows, right? Like it doesn't instantly turn you around. I like that. You can still kind of do donuts here, which is pretty fun, honestly. I think that works really well. But I think it is still like it's a bit artificial in the way that it rotates. You know, it's not like it's very like mechanical and artificial. It doesn't feel very physical. I think I'd want to mess with that a little bit more. But I have to dig into kind of how the movement, if you can do that in the movement controller. I don't know if there's any actually kind of rotational vector you can do in the same way that you can do the linear ones with the forward and back and the left and right. But I think this is a pretty good start at a whole flying car. So we kind of made this all from just a plain character in a completely empty project. This is even just the default landscape that comes with this. And we got nice camera controls here. It's feeling pretty good there. We got pretty fun movement controls, and it's all like incredibly simple, honestly. I mean, I think that's kind of the best thing, and that's one thing that I always try to like do in building stuff is do things in the simplest way possible. So all of these controls really just come out of like, this is our zoom, this is the up and down control, and then we have, this is the left and right and forward and back control, and then this is the camera control, and that's like the entirety of this. But you can also, we can like really tune it in, you know, we can kind of take this movement component, and I think there's like a deceleration on here. Yeah, so braking, deceleration, flying. Like, I wonder what happens. What if we make that 500? I think, does that like automatically stop us if we let go? Yeah, it stops us pretty quick. So there's a lot of fun controls to yeah, like auto braking kind of. That's interesting. So yeah, I mean, even putting that at 100 just to give it a little bit of a braking, so automatically kind of decelerating as you go. So a lot of fun little things that you can actually mess with just in the settings for this component. You know, we could also just add just a little bit of gravity, for instance. Like, I wonder what happens if we just made it 0.1. So we can always like fight it, but we'll eventually still like fall, you know, as we go. So this is on a 0.1 gravity setting. So I launched this up pretty high. We're definitely not falling anytime soon. I mean, it's almost an unnoticeable amount of falling that we are doing right now. Like, it's like 0.1 gravity seems like nothing. Let's see what 0.5 is, because I'm surprised that it's that little. Very surprised that little. Felix, thank you for that hydrate. I think I've only done it one other time since the other hydrate. So cheers. Thank you so much. Thank you for hanging out. Appreciate you. Yo, and Red Box 012, thank you for that follow. Welcome on in. Thank you for hanging out. Okay, so yeah, I guess let's see what the 0.5 is. So half gravity, which should be pretty strong still. We should feel it, right? We should be feeling it. I gotta say, I'm not feeling it. Is our gravity just not working at all because we're flying? Maybe that's only like the default gravity. Yeah, we only slow down. We don't actually apply gravity. That is that a setting for flying? No, I guess flying just does not include gravity by nature, which I guess is fine, you know. I mean, we could just have have it as walking. I wonder what that would do. What is the difference then if you set, like, if we did 0.1, but we made the default, instead of flying, we made it walking, but there's still no gravity. I think you would still lose control in the air. Oh, and also we're so much slower. Hold on, we're so much slower walking. It's unpleasant. I don't like it. So let's bump that up. I think we're doing 1200 at least, right? Or let's just make it that, because actually that's probably insane, isn't it? I mean, we can only accelerate to a certain amount. So, oh wow, that stops real fast. Okay, so that's another difference, is the stopping really quick. But okay, yeah, I mean, that seems like full gravity though. It doesn't feel like we're even getting off the ground here at 0.1 gravity scale. That seems very strange, right? What is this gravity scale doing? I feel like it's lying to us. Let's go back to flying, because that's all we really need to do. So this car is not going to be walking anytime soon. And I guess the gravity just doesn't, I don't know. The gravity either fully applies or doesn't apply, seemingly irrespective of the gravity scale. But who's to say? So yeah, so we got a kind of a full control for a flying car, and honestly, it's feeling pretty good. And there's a lot of fun things to tweak. Even just that slowing down kind of feels good. Like I'm digging it. I think we got a nice base going for this. But yeah, actually, I mean, I think that's kind of like all I really wanted to do for today. We're gonna move on. We're gonna do the ghost hunting stuff. We're gonna get back to that on Wednesday, if not sooner. That's the goal for the week. We're still trying to keep it at least Sunday and a Wednesday streams, and then hopefully get more in there. But with the schedule being as crazy as it's been, there's just no way of knowing. So, but yeah, we will get back to that. This was kind of like a one-off little adventure to just get a kind of basic tutorial going for building up a project from scratch with totally custom controls, not doing any of the standard template stuff that most like tutorials do. So I wanted to do a run through of this, and I'm actually going to probably try to get this whole VOD onto YouTube as its own little thing. So yeah, I think we're gonna wrap it up there. We came what we accomplished what we came to do, and I think we're feeling good about that. So let me get back to our little screen here, and let's see. So yeah, thank you everybody for hanging out. Let's see. I mean, do we have? I was trying.